You're listening to Rocket Shop Radio Hour on The Radiator. I'm your host, Abby BK, and with us tonight we have Xander Naylor. How are you doing?
Doing very well. Thanks for having us.
And we have a full band today as well. Do you want to just briefly introduce everyone and the instrument that they'll be playing tonight?
Yeah, for sure. So with us tonight we have Mike Biella on tenor sax and clarinet, Ezra Oakland playing the Maestro Rhythm King, and Rob Morse playing the electric bass, and I'll be playing guitar tonight.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, welcome into the studio space. So tell us a little bit more about who you are and how you all found each other to be where we are today.
Yeah, so I am both a guitarist and a composer, and tonight we're playing the music from a soundtrack for a film that I scored. It's called Hayseed, and so this is a group of, specifically, we are all musicians who played on this recording, and so kind of, I've met all these guys in different capacities. I've known Mike for a really long time. We went to school together down in New York, and didn't see each other for about 10 years, somewhere in between, and then reconnected just a few years ago, and we've been playing together really regularly since. Rob, I think I'm going to put you on the spot, but I grew up like hearing this guy play around Burlington, and like he was kind of a legend to me. So, it's I'm just really happy to have him on the record and have him here. And it's amazing to be playing together and grooving. So, and this guy, Ezra over here, Ezra plays drums oftentimes and loves to play the Maestro Rhythm King also. And it's a talent that few hold down as exceptionally as he does. So we work together really closely, and he helped mix the record and produce the record. So he's sneaking in through the side door.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So tell us more about the film, and how did you get this opportunity to write the music for it?
So it's actually kind of a funny story, because I, in the past, have had a tendency sometimes to write music that doesn't easily fit into categories. And one time I was trying to get a record reviewed by people, and they kept telling me, we don't know what genre this is, and we're not sure if we can write about it. So they kept telling me I should get my music licensed in films, because like that was gonna be the answer for me. So I just started calling people, asking them if they could tell me how to do that. And by the time I got to maybe I had called 30 people and no one had given me a good answer, then I hit someone, Travis Burgess, who was like, actually, I'm about to make a film and I need someone to score the music, and maybe you could do it. So maybe you can help make a teaser for like a fundraising thing. And so I said, let's go. And so we started that, and then through that chance process, it takes a while to make movies, but we just started bouncing ideas off of each other, and eventually this was formed.
Very cool.
Out of that.
So do you feel like this music is your typical style, or do you think that you switched it up a bit to match the vibe and the theme of the film?
From when so it's interesting, because we recorded this 2 years ago, and I worked on it for probably about a year before that, and I was coming from a background of doing way more experimental kind of avant-garde jazz stuff, and also a lot of Indian music, just studying Indian music for a long time and being really involved in that. So working on a record where it started out as like taking inspiration from Neil Young and his soundtrack work into, other different composers from all over the world, and a lot of groove-based music, it was kind of an opportunity for me to research a lot of music that I wasn't that familiar with, or that I hadn't tried to emulate. And then we put this whole thing together with the concept that it would be kind of like one band was performing the whole soundtrack, but that it was like as if you went into a dimly lit club, and there was a band that was covering a different style of music for each song, like that kind of thing. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, we would love to hear your first song. So what have you got?
Yeah, we'll play the main title theme from the movie. So this one's called Hayseed.
That was Hayseed. So, your soundtrack is finally being released in a couple days. How are you feeling about that? And yeah, you also have this release party coming up. So tell us more.
I'm really excited to get this music out. It's been a long time since it was recorded, so it's kind of gets to a certain point where I need to get stuff out so that I can make room for other stuff, write new music, and just really excited to get this one out. And it's going to be the first release from a new record label called Music Lab Records that is being run by Ezra and myself, and it's kind of a, do we call it a subsidiary? Is that what we should, is subsidiary?
I think so.
Yeah.
It's proper terminology.
It's a subsidiary of the Vermont Music Lab,
Gotcha.
which Ezra could probably talk more about, but
Yeah,
you know.
totally. I mean,
wanna
feel
talk more
free.
about
Yeah.
Vermont Music Lab.
Yeah.
It's a
Sure.
studio. It's a rehearsal space. But yeah, we want to be a part of a community that is growing in Burlington, Vermont, and Vermont in general. Just has a great musical community, and we want to be a part of that. So we started a label and a studio. So come on over and bring your band and bring yourself, record, rehearse, hang out.
Awesome.
Yeah, if you ever found yourself wanting to live in Ezra Oakland's dream, and come to the lab,
Yeah.
because that's what it is. He's the one who started it all and who has been finding a way to bring all these parts of the music scene together under one roof. So
Totally.
You can find us on the internet
yeah.
at vermontmusiclab.com.
Perfect. So is this where all of the soundtrack was recorded?
The recording itself was actually done at with Dan Rome at then Future Fields on Main Street in Burlington.
Mm-hmm.
So he made the whole thing really possible in terms of like we were actually tracking to picture. You know, we had monitors in every room so that everybody could see the film, and a lot of the music we actually played to exactly where it went in the film. And then some of them we just kept playing and like made these versions of the songs, and then we edited it later. And then we mixed and edited the whole thing at the lab this past spring. So actually, I think is this the maiden voyage? I think this is the first.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, this is the first full album to be mixed at the lab, actually.
Oh, awesome.
So, yeah. First album to be mixed at the lab, and first album to be put out on the label Music Lab Records, too. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think this kind of like is a good example of the sense of community, too. Recorded at Future Fields, mixed at the Music Lab, mastered by Jeremy Mendocino at Lane Gibson recording and mastering. So we're kind of hitting all the places there in the community.
Yeah. So in total, how long has this project been going on?
The start of it was probably almost 4 years ago.
Okay. So long time coming. How exciting. You're finally there. You get to celebrate now.
Yeah, party September 20th, Friday, September 20th, 6 to 8 p.m. Release party. All of us will be there playing this stuff
Yeah.
in real life.
Totally.
And food, free beer,
Always
thanks
good.
to Zero Gravity.
Can't say no to that.
No, you can't.
So take us through what is your typical songwriting process, and how did that kind of shift when you were working on this specific project for the film?
Yeah. My typical song, I have two different processes. One is like trying to have a regular practice of songwriting, which is kind of like that's like regular exercise that you do to like keep your arteries open, you know, to just keep the blood flowing. And then but most of the music that I make that people end up playing and that I end up recording just kind of comes from me. Just sometimes I start playing and then I'm like, oh no, I have to turn on a voice memo right now and just record, and then I just try to catch it the best I can. So that's a process that really relies on just kind of being open to when I'm told that I need to write something. But how did it shift to make a film score? It's like all of a sudden you have a job. You can't just work when you want to. You're fitting someone else's aesthetic. And so this was fun. I mean, as far as like collaborations go, I love working with people on stuff where we don't know what the end result is going to be. When we first started this process, like almost 4 years ago, we kept talking about the Jim Jarmusch film Dead Man, where Neil Young like kind of improvised most of that score, like just himself with a bunch of guitars and different instruments. And for like 6 months there, I thought the whole soundtrack was just going to be improvised. And then we realized that wasn't going to be possible and that we needed all these different genres. So then Travis started sending me references to things. It was like, check out this kind of like, checking out old blues music, checking out Ry Cooder's music, we were listening to Tom Waits. We were listening to, I was listening to a lot of Grant Green at the time. And then he would be sending me stuff like this Ethiopian composer, Mulatu Astatke. And I was checking out all these things that I had never heard from, just from outside of my usual, what I grab easily, And so then I would just try to write music off of what he was feeding me.
Gotcha.
Take it in, spit something out.
Whatever works, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we would love to hear the second song that you've got. Yeah,
I was thinking we could do a tune called, it was originally called Intro Credits, very dry title, but now it's called Have You Seen the Reverend? This is the opening theme from the very beginning of the film, and this one definitely was drawing inspiration from that composer Mulatu Astatke, so seems like a good one to play now.
Great, go for it.
Start this one. Okay. Okay.
Have You Seen the Reverend, Xander Naylor? So, you obviously are all talented musicians playing in other groups, busy doing other things. So, I guess, Xander, I'll just ask you, but how did you find time to work on this amidst all of your other groups? And did you feel that, the different projects that you were working on kind of informed each other or inspired each other in any way?
Yeah. This was a really, it's interesting because like all the questions that you're asking are about things where this kind of was a unique situation. So it was funny because I had a bunch of kind of impending projects, and then I had 3 different records that got recorded in the summer of 2022 in like 3 months time. So it was like a really crazy time, and I was writing. You can't control when a film is going to be made, right? When you first say yes to when the film is going to be made, you don't know when that's going to happen, and you don't know like when you're going to get the call that maybe you have like a 4 or 6 week window to suddenly just record it. So I already had a recording session booked for another thing that I had gotten a grant from the Vermont Arts Council to make a record, and then it turned out that we needed to record this like 2 weeks right after that. It was the only day that everybody in the band could actually make it to Vermont at the same time. Rob was coming up from New York. Trip Dudley, who played percussion, was coming up from New York too. So it was a kind of hectic, and I was writing 2 records at the same time. One that was like completely deeply rooted in Indian classical music and jazz, and then this one which was like all like kind of like American roots music, a lot of like blues based, and it was strange having those mingle and then trying to disentangle them, and sometimes just letting them be tangled.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
And then actually on top of that, it was funny because like 2 weeks before all that happened, while I was trying to finish both of these records, I got called by, now my good friend Michael Mwenzo, who was in town curating the jazz festival, and he asked me to sub in his band. So I had to like spend 40 hours learning all that music while I was supposed to be writing this. But learning all that ended up informing this. You just never know what gigs are going to happen on top of each other.
Mm-hmm.
So if I hadn't done that gig, I don't know if I could have I don't know if some of the flavors in this record would have been there.
Yeah.
So my life is a lot simpler right now.
I'm glad you have a bit of a breather. That sounds a bit crazy. Fun and exciting, but a little crazy. So tell us a little bit more about your interest and performing more of the jazz and the Indian classical music. When did you start feeling pulled toward those genres, and what's your background in that?
I always kind of had an interest in Indian music a little bit, but in a very vague sense. And then when I moved to New York in 2008, it was really a quick succession. My roommate that I was assigned to by the new school in the dorm, he just was a guitarist, and he was like, the first question he asked me was like, have you heard what they're doing in India with the slide guitar? And my response was like, I had no idea. So he hands me a CD and I check it out, and I was blown away by the slide guitar, but I was more blown away by the person who was playing the tabla on that record. And about a month later, I ended up in a master class with that tabla player, Samir Chatterjee. And a couple months after that, I was basically just magnetically drawn to him, that I felt like I had to study with him. I didn't know why. And then that kind of started a relationship that's gone on till now. I don't know how many years that is. 15 years.
Yeah.
Long time.
Definitely.
So that's just a long, slow process that just is always going on in the background.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
So now that this project is coming to completion, what's next? Are you hoping to continue performing, these songs for the world? Are you hoping to focus more on some of your other projects, a mix of all?
Yeah, so this record is coming out this Friday on the 13th. And so we're prepping for the party on the 20th at the lab. And then in a few more weeks' time, there's going to be another one of those records from 2 years ago is coming out with my group Breathwork, that has Ethan Snyder, who also played drums on this record, and Pat Markley. So that's a band that was performing in Burlington a lot 2-3 years ago, but doesn't play as much now. And so we'll put that record out in November. And other than that, just working hard to get things going at the lab
Yeah.
and getting this label running. That's 2 full-time jobs right now.
Yeah, I imagine.
So we're just working really hard to get that up and running so that we can, start getting people in to record more.
totally
Just work with them.
Yeah. What are your aspirations for the recording and trying to get more artists to join?
Ezra? Well, I hear
would you
here.
like to
While he
grow?
has a second to
Yes.
think about it, I can tell you as far as the label side, one of the main focuses on the label side is to try to help artists around here, local artists, and educate them on what it means to release music in 2024 and how you can go about doing that effectively. So in short, finding a way that you can release your music that it's really easy to put your music on Spotify or put your music on Bandcamp or anywhere, right? But it's a little bit of a different task to find ways to get people to listen to your music. And there's so much beautiful music being made and so much beautiful music being made in Burlington that we want to try to find a way to help people get that heard.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. Anything to add to that, Ezra?
Yeah, I think we're also going to try to do something that maybe record labels used to do, like back in the day, where we develop a band. So someone comes to us and says, hey, I have 12 songs. I don't really have a band, but I want to put one together. We can help put a band together and kind of bring that idea to fruition. So basically we want to be a cog in the wheel of the development process. So bands come to us and we will basically do everything from put the band together, recording them, possibly even figuring out a way to get them on tour. I have no idea how we're going to do that, but we're going to try.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Well, we would love to hear the third song that you've got. So what would you like to play next?
Let's do Cardboard Box Instead of a Gold Watch. Intro. This is intro credits number 2. Yeah, they all had very glamorous titles originally, and the charts still say that.
So that one was cardboard box instead of a gold watch. Should I get that right?
Yeah.
Okay, I nailed it. So
Yeah,
tell
that's
us a little.
about someone getting in the film being fired from their police job.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to ask if these names that you have for them, are they inspired by like the film and the happenings of the film, or were they
Yeah.
like, titles that you gave them?
Yeah, they all
yourself?
have to do with like the text during the first occurrence of the song.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So did you kind of get the liberty to choose when the music made sense to come into the film, or was it kind of already told to you in advance the cues for kind of the timing of when it made sense?
It's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like a lot of it was written, but then a lot of times there will be a process called spotting. So like I sat down one day with Travis Burgess, the director, and we just went through the film, and then anytime a moment would come, he would say, right there,
Yeah.
and we would just block out when it was going to start and end.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any particular moments in that process and in the film that you're particularly proud of, or a certain song that you feel like you were like, yes, this is one that stands out?
I think to me, the one that we already played, Have You Seen the Reverend, that I came up with for the very beginning of the film, that was like really crucial for me. And I personally really like the way that turned out.
Yeah.
It's not exactly like a single, but for me, that was the moment where when I made that, I kind of knew how the tone was going to be for the rest of the film.
Gotcha.
And I worked a lot of it around just that seed that I had.
Yeah, very cool. Well, we do only have a few more minutes, so we always like to give our guests the chance to promote yourself and tell us how we can best support you, any upcoming gigs, anything like that, how to listen to your music. So the floor is yours to promote.
Well, I mean, I'll just first say, while we're talking about this record, it comes out this Friday, the 13th, and wow. Oh yeah, we thought we were going to skip on the Friday the 13th. I guess we decided on that. So Friday the 13th, there's going to be vinyl, tapes, CDs. Listen to it on Spotify. It's all out there. You can check out my website, xandernaylor.com, XANDERNAYLOR.com, and come hang with us at the Vermont Music Lab on Friday the 20th. It's on, what's the address?
217 Pearl Street in Essex Junction.
217 Pearl Street in Essex Junction. That's Route 15 if you're coming from Burlington, right past Susie Wilson. Anybody else for self-promotion?
Any self-promotion from anyone else?
Not
You
a
can
lot
be
of
your own hype
self-promoters
man if
right
you'd
now.
like.
We have another
Very humble crowd.
We have another lab release happening on the 13th as well. We have another lab release on the 13th as well. An artist named Samantha Patanod, and she's releasing her first single off of Music Lab Records called Reverie.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's definitely a good one.
There you go. You're turning Friday the 13th into a lucky day with all of these releases.
I guess so.
Fingers crossed.
Awesome. Well, what is your last song for tonight?
Let's do I've got an idea. We'll do that.
Is that
You
this
okay?
one?
You want me to choose a different one?
No, that's great.
All right.
Is that this?
No, that's the other one.
Okay. Oh. Yeah.
No.
Xander Naylor. Well, thank you all so much for coming on the show. It's been great to have you.
Thank you so much for having us. Yeah, it's been a pleasure being here.
Yes. And everyone listening, make sure to check out Xander's music and check out Xander Naylor on streaming platforms. As for now, this has been Rocket Shop Radio Hour. I'm your host, Abby BK. Next week, we won't have a Rocket Shop, but the following week on the 25th, we will have Bullfrog in the studio. So make sure to tune in. But thank you all for listening, and we hope you have a wonderful day or night. We'll see you next time.
Yeah.
So awesome.
Dude,
Thanks so much.